Rodrigo Sanchez from Colombia, which not only is one of the most important producer partners we have in Colombia, he's also my business partner in Colombia. We have 3 farms together, which is a project that I was honored to be invited by Rodrigo to participate 3 years ago. And we are very proud to be working together in that level as well. So thank you, Rodrigo, to be here. Also, in my humble opinion, Rodrigo in Colombia is one of the leading innovators in terms of post-harvest fermentations as well. Rodrigo has a book of over 100 post-harvest processes, which is amazing. You guys that are producers, you know how hard that is. So, thank you. Gracias, mi hermano, por estar acá y compartir con nosotros ese tiempo. Y para mí es un gustazo tenerte acá y espero que esté disfrutando del viaje y de la compañía, de los chicos y de la comida, del clima de Brasil. Diego, I met your father several years ago. And your father to me was one of those guys that every time that I talk to Gilberto, I definitely learned something new. Your father was an innovator. Your father was one of the beginners to really push the envelope. And I could not be more proud to have you here, to see you following on his footsteps, to see you pushing the envelope even further than your father did. So for me, it's an honor to be sitting next to you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're also a triathlete and an inspiration for us.
I'm a bit crazy.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to share. Diego Robelo, my friend, mi amigo. It's an honor to have you here as well. I've had the privilege to visit every single one of your farms and to see the work you do firsthand. Aquiares is an incredible place. All of your farms, they have their own unique beauties that I could not promote too much, otherwise you're going to be getting people visiting you all the time. You do already. Yes. You'd have to get an extra 24 hours in a day to actually accommodate everyone, but your farm is amazing. It's a third generation. And you have in Aquiares even a city, a whole entire community inside your farm, and a school, a hospital. And you see people living in Aquiares, they are very happy to be living in Aquiares because you created this environment so people can thrive in there. Not only that, it's a beautiful farm. That waterfall you have in there, the coffees you produce, having the oldest standing dry mill in Costa Rica, the first. All of that really is so unique and interesting. And you, the 3 of you, have found ways through coffee production to find a solution sometimes that other producers, they don't have, which is add value to your product. So I wanted to hear from you. I'm going to start with you, Diego. Okay. And I want to hear from you, what are some of the things that Aquiares, Diego Robelo, does that actually adds value into coffee production and make you be such an incredible force or incredible motivator or motivation or inspiration to other producers that are here listening to us today?
Gracias, Ricardo. Nice to meet you all. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a big topic, of course. Understanding one's value needs to come from a very, let's say, introspective analysis of what we have. It doesn't come from what other people tell you. It comes from looking at yourself in the mirror as a producer, as a company, as an exporter, and really understanding what are your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, but really trying to harness the power of your strengths. So in our case, in Aquiares, we are in a region in Costa Rica that is not the famous region. It's not Tarrazú, right? is not the super high elevation, really famous area. So we knew that from the beginning. And we had this issue that the exporters or larger exporters, they didn't want to tell us how special we were. So we needed to do it for ourselves. And it came from this process of really, first of all, understanding maybe what the world, the modern consumer, was going to value in our farm. And once you understand the attributes that make you different, once you understand that they are unique attributes to your coffee story, to your origin, then you can really go out and with a megaphone, right?
Yes.
And tell the story. And that for me was really important. But it had to do also with maybe not listening to a lot of noise, not following what maybe an older generation was telling you that your stereotype was. It was more about understanding the modern consumer and how you can go and reach them with something new, creative, innovative, and different.
That's amazing. And you touched a point that is very interesting, because you first understand yourself, you understand what you have, and then you go out and show.
Yes.
And then you go out and you get the megaphone and you're telling everybody what you can do. And how important is that? Because if you're going out there and you're promoting your coffee and you don't have the backing, or whatever you're saying is not true, that could be disastrous,
Yeah.
right? How important you think that the story, the product and the story, they have to match in order for you to achieve success in coffee production?
I mean, it has to be transparent, right? It has to be not only believable, it has to be tangible. You need to be able to speak 30 words, but then when someone comes visit you, they can speak 100 words when they go back home, right? They have to be able to become, or you have to be able to turn them into champions of your brand, champions of your farm. And that is key. And I feel that the way to do this really is to push forward projects that are meaningful. So for example, in Aquiares, as you mentioned, this is an old farm founded in 1890, 200 homes in a community surrounded by the farm that were owned by the farm up to the 1990s. In the 1990s, my father did an amazing project to enable all workers to buy the houses.
Wow.
And in a process of 5 years, all these houses passed on the ownership to the workers. That created more of a positive effect than we ever imagined.
That's really amazing.
Yes, and it has become like our banner of how we represent Aquiares coffee and community.
That's why people are so happy there.
Yeah,
Because they are inside of your farm, but they own their own homes.
exactly.
Right? And that's adding value through valuing your community, right?
Yeah, the human element, the human capital. We all face issues nowadays in coffee producing areas where the younger generation doesn't want to be involved maybe in a family business.
Correct.
Or in a farm. So how do you get them involved? How do you empower the new generation to be part of something that maybe they have this preconceived notion of being too hard work, I'm not going to make enough, I need to go migrate to the city.
Yes.
But the specialty market is opening doors for unique value to be created and for these new generations to join that
Absolutely.
movement.
It's very interesting you're mentioning that, because we were invited to go to Colombia last week and do a conversation on the age gap in coffee producing areas. And it's and I mentioned your name, and I mentioned your name and your name. We mentioned your names there as producers that, we are not the first generation. You have this, and not to get into a rabbit hole, but it is true. Yeah. And something that is concerning to the whole industry, the average producer globally is about 58 to 60 years old. So if we don't really engage or create a way for younger people to be involved in coffee production and make it exciting for them to be involved, the future of coffee production could be a check. And something that we came up with, that we realized as we were talking and we were discussing, is that it is a combination of factors. It is the experience, the wisdom of the parents, combined with the energy and innovation of the kids.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And we find that if you are able to connect those two, the results are going to be powerful. And the sustainability of coffee, future of coffee production, depends on that. So that's really awesome to hear you saying that. It's off topic, but it's involved, because people think that, oh, I need to produce, or I need to do this and I need to do that. But you cannot forget the aspect, the social aspect of it. You cannot forget that, this is a community after all. We need to actually foster community and create opportunities and engage younger generations or younger people like yourselves to carry on the family legacy, to carry on this business for the future, right? So it's beautiful. So Diego Baraona.
Diego B.
You came in an unfortunate situation, but you came in and you took over, and your farm, when I visited, was like incredible, and it was thriving, and there was movement, and people were engaged, and people were excited. Coming in fresh, taking from your father, which is big shoes to fill, right? What was your first, take when you came in?
I was very scared. I was like, what
I
have
can
done to
imagine
myself?
that.
Yeah, like you said, it was really hard because my dad is a legend still. He caused a great impact in the industry. He was a leader, innovator, like you said. So I was like, am I capable of continuing legacy? What can I bring to the table now? Because he took it to a really high level. So how can I keep it or overcome it? So I was really scared, but like you said, I've been slowly adding more value. Because Usulután, where the farm is, Los Pirineos, is a region, like I was saying before, it's a region that's not very known for coffee. It was destroyed during the Civil War in the 80s and 90s, so a lot of farms were abandoned, a lot of Roya, Ross leaf, there's a lot of problems. We don't have the best altitude also on the farm, but I started to see ways, like I was saying, how can I be different? What more can I add? So part of that is like trying to keep interesting coffee varieties. We have Pacamara around. I think you'll see the garden.
Absolutely. When I went to that varietal garden of yours, and I was like, how long can I spend here?
It's like a candy shop.
I saw things that I never saw, ever before. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, like you were saying, so that adds value, like trying to bring different varieties, exotic varieties to El Salvador that are not native to El Salvador. That's really interesting. It adds more value to the farm because it's cool, because when I come to the buyers, to Ally, for example, I'm happy to offer like a big menu of varieties and all have different processes and profiles. So it's really cool to offer different tastes and profiles from the same farm in El Salvador. So I think that's really interesting to experiment with varieties and processes at the same time.
That's very interesting. So diversification of portfolio.
Yeah.
So if a client wants a Pacamara, which you guys are very famous for, if a client wants a Pacamara, you can say, yes, you can have my Pacamara, but also you can have my Pacamara natural, or you can have my Pacamara washed, or you can have my Pacamara honey.
Black honey, yeah.
All right? So then you create this portfolio which actually adds value to you're doing coffee production and make you more attractive. So you're talking about this community aspect. You're talking about the social aspect. You're talking about engaging younger generation, and then you talk about diversification of portfolio of offers, right? This is all like important ingredients in terms of bringing value to coffee production. What are some of the other things that you think that you do at Pirineos, Los Pirineos, that really, besides the view?
The view. But I think the view adds value to the coffee. The view and the overall aesthetic of a farm, being a clean farm, order, like a lot of order and traceability and lot selection, lots in the planting field also. That's really important. Like knowing what are you planting, how do you select the cherries, all that translates to the cup and to the buyer in the end. Like I use full Pacamara. Genetic quality, we are really, we look a lot of detail into like selecting the best seeds, the best lots, so that adds more value to the quality in the end also.
Genetic choice, you know,
Choice.
what
Yeah.
varietals am I going to plant here?
Yeah.
You know, what I'm going to invest on as a farmer and moving
Yeah.
on. And that's a great segue to go into Rodrigo, because
Yeah.
Rodrigo, he's crazy to begin with. Hermano, tú eres loco. Y creo que es por eso que estoy trabajando contigo, porque soy loco también. Pero hermano, una pregunta que me gustaría hacer, que estaba diciendo Diego. La escoja de qué varietales sembrar, y cómo sembrar, y dónde sembrar. Nosotros tenemos un proyecto en Colombia, que es una finca increíble, que es llamada Las Veraneras. Y esta finca no había café, había como 4 hectáreas, y hoy tenemos sembrado 75 hectáreas. Y allí escogimos sembrar solamente varietales exóticos, ¿no? 23. Y está una senda que tú miras, estamos a 1800, 1000 y pico de altura, y no era fácil sembrar en esta finca, y sembramos, pero puro varietales exóticos. Rodrigo, la pregunta para usted es, ¿por qué esta locura? ¿Por qué todo eso?
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí con nosotros, a los compañeros de panel. Para nosotros es un orgullo, Ricardo. Muchas gracias por la invitación, y a Ala, y por abrir este tipo de espacios que nos permiten conocer un poco más del mundo del café. Esto
Claro.
es maravilloso. A Diego, hombre, tu papá fue una inspiración para muchos de nosotros en
Eso,
café,
¿verdad?
y nos sentimos orgullosos de mi parte, de mi familia. Me siento orgulloso de poder estar aquí con vos y poder compartir este espacio. Hermano, yo creo que el café es un mundo tan amplio y tan inmenso, que nos permite cada vez involucrarnos un poco más y abrir un poco más de conocimiento para nosotros como productores y al mundo como consumidor. ¿Qué nos ha llevado a querer experimentar en la historia del café colombiano, que lleva un poco más de 100 años? Conocíamos solo 6 variedades de cafés a estos años, que fueron los típicas, borbones, caturras, colombias, castillos,
Sí.
y ahora los cenicafés. Cuando tuvimos la posibilidad, hace unos 14 años, de comenzar a ver un poco más lo que había afuera, comenzamos a ver variedades como geishas, como 4 o 5 líneas de borbones que eran desconocidas en el café colombiano. Entonces nos preguntamos nosotros, ¿por qué no tratar de diversificar un poco y tratar de salirnos del grupo tan grande del café colombiano? Porque en Colombia somos muchos productores muy pequeños. Entonces el buscar un camino de especialidad y un camino único nos obligó a migrar hacia otros diferentes perfiles, y en este caso poder tener unas variedades también que nos fueran proporcionando una distinción diferente. Y es así como hemos llegado a este caso. Yo creo que si hace 8 o 10 años nos hubieran preguntado si esto era posible, yo creo que hubiéramos dicho que no. Pero lo que ha pasado en estos 10 años ha sido loco en los cafés de especialidad. Y hoy tener este tipo de materiales en Colombia, y no solo en Colombia, yo creo que el caso que estábamos viendo en la finca donde nos encontramos hoy, Minamijara, para nosotros es un orgullo que uno de nuestros materiales hoy esté acá.
Sí, sí.
Eso es motivo de orgullo.
Hoy hay café Rodrigo Sanchez sembrado en Minamijara. Sí.
Entonces eso, hermano, nos lleva a que la hermandad, por ejemplo, don Gilberto compartió algunas semillas con nosotros que hoy tenemos dentro de nuestras fincas, y eso se trata el mundo del café, es la unión. Somos una sola familia en café, aquí no hay competencia,
Eso.
ni el café de Colombia compite con El Salvador o con Costa Rica, como ese recelo que ha existido entre los países productores. No, yo creo que hay espacio para todos crecer de una manera eficiente, obviamente basada en el respeto, el amor y la transparencia, obviamente hacia el cliente, que es por lo cual nosotros hoy estamos aquí.
Excelente, hermano. For those of you that don't speak Spanish, I don't know if we have translation. Do you? Oh, we do. Oh, wow. Look at this, man. This just got sweeter. Bueno, regresemos al español, hermano. de verdad, yo creo que este proyecto es muy ambicioso. Las veraneras, usted tiene las nubes, las veraneras, la loma, Monte Blanco, Progreso, Monte Bonito, El Edén. Son 7 fincas. Y cómo trata de manejar 7 fincas, yo sé que tiene un equipo excelente, pero el apoyo, la ayuda es muy importante para lograr lo que necesita lograr usted con 7 fincas y aún traer valor agregado a tu producto. Cuéntame cuál es la receta para poder lograr hacer tanto, porque eso hay acá, por ejemplo, yo sé que son 7 fincas, pero son ¿cuántas hectáreas en total? Por ejemplo.
Hermano, son 385 hectáreas. Bueno, como tú lo decías, esto no fuera posible, primero sin el apoyo de mi familia, mi esposa, mi hija.
Claudia, Claudia, por favor. Esta es la jefa.
Yo solo soy el conductor.
Ah, el conductor.
Sí, la jefa.
Y Claudia la que manda y que, bueno, yo sabía.
No, tú lo sabes.
Yo sabía.
Obviamente también hay personas muy importantes, dentro de ellos hay un amigo y socio que es parte de todas estas locuras, que es Elkin Guzmán, y yo sé que nos está viendo, que es un gran productor, amigo, hermano, parcero, que nos ha acompañado en todo este
aliado
en todo este mundo de locuras. Tenemos también a nuestro socio exportador Vicente Mejía, Clear Path Coffee, que nos ha permitido esto, hermano, y nada de esto fuera posible sin el apoyo de Alay y tuyo, hermano. De verdad que yo creo que es el escenario perfecto que cualquier productor quisiera tener. ¿Sí? Hombre, tener la oportunidad de poder presentar sus cafés y generar un sentido de transparencia con los clientes que hoy están aquí y con los que nos conectamos alrededor del mundo, de verdad que es maravilloso y no hay sino palabras de agradecimiento. Y en ese orden, el equipo de trabajo es maravilloso. Tenemos agrónomos, los administradores de cada finca, y en esto hemos aprendido, ya cumplimos en mayo 21 años en Cafés Especiales junto con mi esposa.
21, pero yo pensaba que tenía 25. ¿Cuándo empezaste?
No, teníamos 15 años cuando empezamos en Cafés Especiales.
Tenías 15.
15 años. Wow. Tuvimos la oportunidad de iniciar un proyecto de catación para hijos de productores y eso nos permitió abrir la mente al mundo. Yo creo que fue una bendición cuando conocemos lo que estamos trabajando, cuando conocemos el producto inicial de lo que parte todo este proceso, las ideas son mucho más grandes. Y nos ha permitido desarrollar, hoy podemos contar con más de 220 perfiles diferentes, 27 variedades dentro de las fincas, 7 fincas manejadas en 385 hectáreas y podemos decir orgullosos que más del 94% de nuestro café es arriba de 85 puntos.
Increíble, hermano. Entonces, la historia, el apoyo a la comunidad, aprovechar el momento para traer los más jóvenes para estar involucrados en el tema de producción. Escoja varietales, diversificación, todo eso es muy importante y también tener un equipo, tener un apoyo, tener aliados que van a apoyar en esta jornada para que en todo lo que hacen ustedes, la historia, diversificación, producción, procesos diferentes, varietales que sea, ustedes necesitan un apoyo para llevar esta historia, para llevar todo eso afuera para este mercado con un valor agregado. Todo eso es muy importante porque uno puede pensar, yo produzco café, mi café es bueno y ya. No es así. Diego.
Yeah, I think it's not about being the best coffee, it's about being unique. How can it be unique in such a big industry? It's because we all have great, amazing coffees.
Exactly.
But how can you be different? How can you add different value? I think that's the approach that we should have, as producers.
Absolutely, I think that it's fantastic to be unique, to have your own story as well, because, and I think sometimes people they are too worried about, or producers are too worried about what is my neighbor doing, right? What is my neighbor doing? And I want to copy what he's doing. Of course, I think it's like you mentioned. There is no competition. It's mostly like how can we share knowledge and we share sometimes even resources and information, but it's like focusing on your own uniqueness, your core, who you are, right? That's very important as well when you're actually looking into bringing more value to your product.
One thing that I felt that has brought value to us actually has been the times of crisis.
Exactly.
Times of crisis, they shake you, right? And they put you on your toes and you need to react. Bad prices, Ferrugen, Roya, bad weather, whatever it is. I felt that at those moments, and I remember vividly 2013 with Roya coming to Costa Rica for the first time, starting a varietal garden, looking for alternatives, finding agronomical solutions first. Because we need to look at productivity. We need
Absolutely.
to look that the plant is our ally, it's our best asset. Finding the right agricultural solution, and then explaining to the world, whoever the market is, whoever the buyer is, why it makes sense for them to support that solution. Because for us producers, we don't have to follow what the market is telling us.
Exactly.
We need to surprise the market.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So it's more about pushing innovation from origin out, exporting innovation, exporting the future of coffee, not trying to copy or listen to what others are doing and bring it to the farm.
Bring them in.
Yeah, farming, sorry, but farming is harder than anything else in coffee. So
I do know that. You know, I have this unique opportunity to see the different sides of coffee, or the different segments of coffee, and I know the producers are producing coffee is the most challenging thing in the whole chain.
yes,
The most challenging thing. And you, because it's an agricultural product, you are at the mercy of the weather, you're at the mercy of thieves stealing your product. You know, there's a lot bad that can happen. You can have a great year, you can have a terrible year, you can have coffee one year and no coffee the other year. Quality may be great. No, this year is not so good. So what do I do, right? And I think that bringing your partners, your allies in to feel what it is like to be a producer, I think that brings incredible value to coffee production. Brings incredible value for what producers do day in and day out. And they can support you if they are in and they understand what you're doing and what you're going through. They are able to support you, and they should support you in the good times and in the bad times.
and that's only understood once you understand again that your client is not your direct client, ally. Is the client of my client.
That's exactly right.
Of my client. Right? So it's joining the dots from the consumer back to us, making them sensible to what happens in the farm. Lack of labor, bad weather, pest, disease, bad price. Having them have that sensibility. I'm not just drinking coffee, it came from a machine, no. Right? There's so much behind it. And once the consumer can reach that sensibility, then the supply chain can be more resilient.
Absolutely, and that's why it's important that roasters, green buyers, baristas, everyone in the chain is engaged.
Yes.
Because if you have everybody engaged in the chain, all the players in different areas, right? Then they are able to tell this. They're able to tell your story, show the community aspect, talk about the diversification, and also, you know, how important the team is to make this all possible. And because they are in the forefront of the chain, in the face of the consumer, they are able to continue on and tell your story, because you're not able to be in the destination everywhere. So that's why it's so important what Rodrigo mentioned, which is the teamwork, team aspect. That's why everyone in the chain has a very important part in this, in bringing value to what they do. I think this is definitely a team sport and not like an individual sport. I think the individuality, it is looking me in the mirror as a producer and how I can be better, but it's not me versus them in that aspect. It's like understanding who I am and what I want to achieve and being unique, but my uniqueness needs to be shared by other people as well, right?
Yeah, it's true. Like you were saying, like they will say, like when I first got in, I didn't know what route to take. Should I follow trend? Should I do my own thing? Like what should I do? But like what you say is perfect. Like trust who you are and just keep honing on that, build on that, and keep it that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rodrigo, hermano, ¿qué gustaría compartir usted con esta audiencia acá, con gentes espectaculares? Como productor de café, ¿cuáles son las palabras que usted puede compartir con esta audiencia para motivarlos como productores, como tostadores, como barista? Usted está en contacto con toda la cadena, desde la producción hasta los baristas, a los consumidores muchas veces quieren saber de Rodrigo Sánchez. Es toda una estrella. Pero ¿qué palabras te gustaría compartir con la gente que está acá hoy?
Bueno, nada, yo creo que primero tener la capacidad de saber hasta dónde somos capaces de llegar como productores. Yo creo que perder el miedo a conocer el mundo del café, creo que es muy importante y conocer lo que hoy tenemos, ¿no? Creo que encontrar el valor más grande que tenemos en cada uno de nuestras tierras, que es el terroir, que es lo que contamos ambientalmente, que es donde está plantado nuestro cultivo. Esas son condiciones únicas que nos permiten distinguirnos de los demás productores en el mundo. Ya después de eso sigue la variedad que vamos a plantar, porque es nuestro proyecto de vida a 20, 30 años o puede ser mucho más. Pero no, que no le tenga miedo. Lo que hace 10 años nos daba miedo, hoy es que nos tiene donde nos tiene. Y yo creo que enfocarnos en una sola cosa. Si vamos a ser productores, vamos a ser los mejores.
Eso.
Si vamos a ser exportadores, vamos a ser los mejores.
Eso.
Si vamos a ser importadores, los mejores. Si vamos a ser tostadores, los mejores. No podemos hacer todo a la vez.
Exactamente.
¿Sí? Entonces, de eso se trata, poder encontrar el engranaje completo para poder tener el mejor resultado.
Excelente, excelente. Gracias por compartir eso. Diego, tus palabras.
What Rodrigo says is, I think, is a good point. Like, you have to lose your fear of failure, because once you lose it, you become invincible. Because I feel like when I first got in, I was super afraid of like doing this, doing that. But like once I started like taking risks, I got getting solutions, bad solutions. You start, okay, it's really nice to take risks, because risks take you somewhere. Risks innovate, risks break walls. So I feel like take risks, don't be afraid of failure, because if you don't try, you'll never know. The what if is the worst thing you can like ask yourself.
Exactly right. That's a great advice. Thank you so much. Robelo?
They've said it all. No, I think that one thing we haven't mentioned, which is an element that sometimes it's scary, is Mother Nature, right? And we don't know exactly what climate change will keep doing to us. We don't know where we're gonna be weather-wise in 10, 20 years. So preparing for that very early is important. And we need to prepare in all fronts. So it's about working with nature in coffee. It's about finding alternatives, breaking paradigms. Sometimes maybe sacrificing a little bit of productivity for a long-term stability in production might be a good idea. So I think that the future is going to be tricky for us producers, but it should be shared with the whole coffee industry, right?
Absolutely.
And we're going to have to find alternatives, and we're going to take those alternatives to market, and we should value them or make the world value those alternatives.
Amazing.
And that's my takeaway. I feel that we need to be wary and prepared for the future.
Thank you so much. That's wise words. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Gracias, mi hermano. Nós vamos agora abrir para perguntas. Para quem quiser fazer alguma pergunta, temos aí não sei quanto tempo ainda, mas vamos abrir para perguntas aí, audiência. We're going to open for questions right now, so if you have a questions you want to ask any of the panelists, feel free to ask. Anybody? Paulo.
Hello, guys. Yeah, I would like to say this is a great pleasure to see these masterminds here in Brazil. So thanks so much for coming and sharing your knowledge. One question that comes to mind, like you guys already said, mentioned all your challenges in the coffee production. And then in order to generate value, to add value to the coffee, I assume that you guys have some strategies and tools to promote your coffee. Marketing, communication, relationship. So I would like to have some advices on how you guys are, because the hard work needs to pay off, Yeah. So I think that's an important, like a key thing on the coffee production that many producers, sometimes they don't think about it. They want to produce the coffee in the best way as possible, improve their processing facilities, but they don't think about the strategy on how to add value. So can you guys give some advices?
Okay, so overall strategies can come from many directions. You can have professionals guide you, let's say in marketing and social media and other things. At the end, with what I started, first of all, what are your strengths and how to tell them to the world? For us, it's been crucial to host people to come to the farm. That is something that we don't stop doing. We will greet someone that wants to buy one bag, one container, or 50 containers. Everyone is welcomed and greeted the same way. You never know who you're meeting, who you're greeting in your farm. That's gonna be, as I said, a champion for your coffee. So I feel this is powerful. It has led us also to start even a tourism branch in the farm. Now we have tourists from all over the world come to the farm, and it's the first time they see a coffee tree, right? We have people from Europe, from the US, from Asia, and they become also, they get impacted by this experience. They get to understand all the effort that goes behind the production of coffee, and they take it back to wherever they are. So I feel that and if you connect this with what people are looking for nowadays, when they travel or what they want to connect with, how to give meaning to their everyday life, they're looking for ways to connect with the things they love the most. And everyone loves coffee, man. So opening your doors, welcoming people, of course, if they can come, doing it digitally, speaking out, and really trusting in the values and in the elements that make you as a producer special.
Yeah, what Diego was saying is very correct. I think social media is a very powerful tool that many producers, in my opinion, are underusing a lot. People want to know the story of the farm, the views, the plants, the process, like the everyday life. I think that has so much value to every single cup. Because a lot of people don't know coffee comes from the plants. People don't know where coffee comes from. So I feel like social media can be used so powerfully for showcasing what the actual farm is. And also, in another opinion, people buying back from me or a container, I treat everybody the same. Because you gotta respect everybody, even for tourists, like they were saying, tourists in one bag container. I think that's really important to treat everybody the same and showcase the entire farm to everybody, no matter what their background is.
Rodrigo, la estrategia. ¿Qué estrategia, hermano? ¿Qué estrategia? Usted, hablando de que estaba hablando Diego, usted hace un par de años entendió la importancia de utilizar los medios sociales para promover tu café, ¿no? ¿Y cuán importante esta estrategia ha sido para tu negocio, para tu marca, tu branding?
Yo creo que como a todos nos ha pasado, lo que nos ha cambiado la vida, la virtualidad y poder conectarnos con todo el mundo, eso hace que haya crecido demasiado la conectividad, sobre todo con los clientes. Eso ha generado más transparencia y más cercanía entre productor y tostador. Bueno, a muchos de la industria no les ha gustado, pero esto nos ha llevado a que tengamos ese sentido de respeto y compromiso más en el intermedio de la cadena. Yo creo que ha sido un crecimiento maravilloso lo que ha venido pasando y lo que nos enseñó la pandemia también. Yo creo que lo que nos enseñó la pandemia era que nos podemos conectar con cualquier persona del mundo sin necesidad de estar presentes y poder tener esa cercanía a través de una taza de café.
Perfecto. Gracias.
Hi, a lot has been said about sustainability, especially to, to combat climate change. I want to know what kind of the measures that you have been doing as a producer in your farms. Las medidas de sustentabilidad en el rancho.
Great question, thank you. In Aquiares, we started a process in 2003 where we transitioned from fully sun-exposed coffee to an agroforestry model, 2003. So 20 years have gone by. We've learned a lot of things. Maybe we were too excited with trees, and in some areas there's too many, okay? But selecting the right trees, the right shade trees, the spacing between them, having the ability to say, I'm gonna eliminate coffee from this area because it's not a good soil. I'm gonna restore this to nature because I need to protect a river, a buffer zone, whatever it is. I think that's important. There's many connections that we don't see, but they're there, right? It's an ecosystem at the end. So really understanding and working with nature. That led us to certifications. It led us to measuring our carbon footprint. 2016, we measured our carbon footprint. 2017, we measured our carbon absorption. And that year, we became a carbon neutral farm in Costa Rica. I think that these are strategies that are forward thinking, right? But they're also very tangible for people in the rest of the world, as I said, the market to understand. Nowadays, you hear carbon neutral, the need to lower emissions, climate change, such many issues that we're all facing. And when we did it 2016, maybe it wasn't present in everyone's minds or everyone's agenda, but now it is. So those are some strategies.
In your case, it's the same way as Aquiares. We've been engaging a lot of agroforestry because in the past 3 years, I've noticed an increase in heat. It's getting much, much hotter. For example, geishas, we noticed they require more shade, pacamaras a bit more. So we've tried to understand where the trend of heat is going. So agroforestry is one of the things we've been doing. What Pirineos is, it's a mountain range, it's very volcanic, there's no water at all, it's super dry, no water, so we have a big pool of water, we collect 1 million gallons of water, which we use to do all the wash coffees, honeys, fertilizers, and for the overall operation. So water collection is really also important because sometimes it doesn't rain that much, sometimes it doesn't rain a lot, so we have to be really, really smart how we use water and how we collect it also.
Entonces, hermano, cuestiones de sostenibilidad que Plática está utilizando en las fincas para...
Bueno, yo creo que no podemos ser ajenos a que la contaminación que produce el café en Colombia ha sido afectaciones muy graves. Lo que se tiene como medida es que son 45 litros de agua por cada kilo de café procesado. Entonces, la contaminación era muy fuerte. Hemos tratado de desarrollar protocolos de fermentación y en este caso lo que son procesos naturales y honeys han ayudado a disminuir sustancialmente ese tipo de contaminación.
Sí.
En este caso nosotros estamos utilizando un máximo de 5 litros de agua para procesamiento por kilo de café.
Wow.
Hoy te enviaba unas fotos realizando lo que antes para nosotros era un problema, que era la pulpa, como la vertíamos
Hoy es la solución.
Hoy tenemos una solución, tenemos una compostera que es capaz de procesar 1 millón de kilos cada 4 meses.
Sí.
Entendiendo la biología de lo que está pasando, entender que todo en la vida a base de fermentación y microorganismos tiene una muy buena solución. Hoy estamos haciendo tanques de descontaminación que llevan microorganismos que consumen mucho de lo que antes iba a nuestras fuentes hídricas. Podemos capturarlo y sirve para nuevamente devolverlo como vida a nuestros suelos. Entonces es un gran aporte que yo creo que lo que nos permite esto compartir es nuevas tecnologías para poder aprovechar cada vez más los recursos.
Excelente, gracias hermano. My friends, muchas gracias.
Obrigado.
Gracias por todo.
Obrigado.
Y obrigado.
Obrigado.
O senhor pode, senhor Getúlio, mas é a última, porque o Rodrigo já vai cortar minha cabeça lá no fundo, olha lá, olhando para mim lá. Tempo. Mas o senhor pode.
Não, aqui eu sei. Muito obrigado por vocês estar participando aqui, mas é uma pergunta que eu sempre tento descobrir, né, a resposta. Hoje se fala muito em variedade geisha, certo? Será que essa variedade vai continuar até quando, como sendo a melhor variedade? Você já tem alguma variedade que poderá ser melhor do que geisha?
Yes. In Aquiares, there's a World Coffee Research did a new generation of hybrids, mixing lines of geisha with sarchimor lines. Some Obatá, some Marsellesa, Parainema. And the results are outstanding. World Coffee Research chose 5, but we believe there's, out of 40, there's some better ones that are not the 5. So we have them. And I think there's a lot in the future that can come from hybrids.
Careful with the next question he's going to ask. Can I have some, please? Now he knows what you expect the next question.
Hybrids. Can I have some seeds, please, also?
Can I have some, please?
Yeah, I think hybrids is a really interesting topic, and I think it's worth the try. I'm a big fan of Sudan Romé, and a lot of coffees have Sudan Romé in their genetic material, and I think that's a really interesting thing to try in some farms, for sure.
Absolutely. Rodrigo?
Yo creo que cada variedad tiene un potencial único, ¿no? Y está en como productor dónde la podemos llevar. Es como amaestrar un caballo, es como domesticar esa variedad de acuerdo a lo que cada uno somos capaces de aportar. Pero yo creo que la variedad ha sido muy estigmatizada y ha sido muy obligada a los cambios por el gusto de los clientes. A nosotros nos suele pasar mucho que llegan a las fincas y, bueno, esto catando y no sabe un geisha panameño. No estamos en Panamá, estamos en Colombia. Es un geisha colombiano, es un geisha brasileño, es un geisha de Salvador, es un geisha de Costa Rica.
Eso.
Son perfiles muy diferentes. Yo creo que no podemos ser pretenciosos y una admiración y un respeto enorme para los productores panameños que han ganado un estatus y un posicionamiento con esta variedad que de verdad que es de quitarnos el sombrero como productores. Y yo creo que en algún momento quisiéramos llegar allá como cultivadores de café. Pero yo creo que cada material se vuelve único en las manos de cada productor. Entonces yo creo que esa debe ser la identidad que debemos aportarle cada uno desde nuestro propio espacio.
Muy bien.
Excelente. Señores, qué gusto compartir esta tarima con ustedes.
Igualmente.
Gracias por venir, gracias por participar.
Gracias a ti.
Y espero que disfruten de lo que está para venir. ¿Ah? Gracias, gracias.
Gracias, obrigado.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.